come on Saturday, but further snow and heavy rain is on the way for Sunday. Before then, though, a risk of icy stretches overnight tonight. Storm Goretti's now moving into parts of Europe, and behind that we've got cold Arctic air still in situ, and where we've seen any fallen snow, there's a risk of icy stretches as that starts to melt and then refreeze overnight across parts of Wales and the Midlands. Also, further snow showers will affect parts of Scotland. There's a risk of freezing fog overnight as well. So widely a very cold night. Another cold one. Could be down into minus double digits in the coldest spots to start Saturday. So a chilly start, but I did say it was going to be drier, and there will be more in the way of dry weather on Saturday, at least compared to Sunday. Still a few showers though moving into the west of Scotland. Some freezing fog patches could be quite stubborn to clear through the day as well across many central areas of Scotland. Clear skies though already starting to develop across a central swathe of the UK, bringing some sunshine to start the weekend. But notice those blue colours indicating whether there's going to be a harsh frost to start the day. So certainly a chilly start, but some good weather to be getting out and about in. Some sunshine developing through the day quite widely. It's cloudier skies across eastern areas of England all the while, where we do have a risk of showers. Some of these sleety across more coastal areas, but for most of us we should stay dry. It is going to be another chilly day though. Temperatures quite widely just 2 or 3 degrees. Now as the next batch of rain bumps into that cold air, there's a risk of some quite widespread snow for a time on Saturday night, but that will quite quickly turn to rain through the course of Sunday morning. So we could see around 10 centimetres across many northern areas, but then a risk of flooding as we head into the latter part of Sunday and into next week. It remains windy.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello from the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland. We're on an amazing Arctic adventure to celebrate our greatest cash giveaway, a simply stunning £85,000. And in 2026, we're giving you the chance to win it all.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Friday Night with Matt Goodwin on GB News, where I speak up for you, the forgotten majority. Coming up on tonight's show, the United Arab Emirates has limited government funding for their students seeking to study at UK universities because of concerns over Islamic radicalization. That's right, we're going to be debating that with a top expert tonight. And Britain threatens to ban Elon Musk's X over its AI tool Grok, creating sexualized images of women and children. We're going to be talking about that tonight. And we're about to see the 10th U-turn from this Labour government, this time over tax hikes on pubs. Is this the end of the Labour government looming? We'll be debating that. And then in the West Midlands, a police chief remains under scrutiny after its alleged anti-Semitic preachers at mosques were consulted on the Maccabi Tel Aviv fan ban. We're going to be debating that with a top expert, and I'll also be joined tonight by my panel, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Eddie Wheatley, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. But as ever tonight, I want to know your views. gbnews.com/your say, and of course, reach us on X at GB News. Well, big news today in the mono, because what we've been looking at today is the issue of whether British university campuses are being radicalised. And it's a question that we're not only asking here in Britain, it's a question that refuses to go away because now our allies in the Gulf are asking this very question. The United Arab Emirates has restricted state funding for its own citizens who want to study here at UK universities. This was not a bureaucratic oversight. According to a Telegraph source, they were told the United Arab Emirates does not want its kids to be radicalised on campus. The UAE operates a generous overseas scholarship system covering tuition fees, living costs, travel and health insurance. Yet British universities, which were once a favoured destination, have been excluded from some funding streams. The question is why? Because of concerns about the presence and influence of Islamist networks here in the UK, particularly those that are linked directly or indirectly to an organisation called the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood was founded in Egypt in the 1920s. It's an international Islamist movement that seeks to organise society around Islamic principles, blending religious revivalism, social activism, and political mobilisation. While it's banned or designated a terrorist organisation in several Middle Eastern states, and a couple of European ones too, the Muslim Brotherhood has not been prescribed here in the UK. In fact, Britain has for decades been extremely liberal in its approach to this organisation. In the mid to late 1990s, the UK was seen as a refuge for Islamist activists fleeing authoritarian regimes in the Middle East. Strong asylum protections and expansive free speech laws made Britain an attractive base. And after 9/11, the UK state finally began paying closer attention. Islamist movements were increasingly scrutinised, though often described as non-violent, while remaining ideologically committed to political Islam, democracy, Sharia law and violence abroad. A key moment for the UK came in 2014 when then Prime Minister David Cameron ordered a formal government review of Muslim Brotherhood. And the findings, which were later published in 2015, were revealing. The Brotherhood was found not to operate as a single formal organisation in the UK, but the review concluded that Brotherhood ideology could act as a possible indicator of extremism, even where violence was not openly endorsed. And the findings found several UK-based individuals and organisations were identified as having historic or ideological links to the movement. Britain may have long functioned as a hub for Muslim Brotherhood-influenced activists, institutions and networks, it found. And the group was not banned, but monitoring was increased. And the UAE has repeatedly questioned why the UK refuses to prescribe the Muslim Brotherhood. And in 2024, the Labour government said the issue was under review, but still has not banned this organisation. And I think things are going to continue to be watched very, very closely in this country, not least as Nigel Farage and Reform have indeed pledged to ban this particular organisation. Well, to discuss all of this, I'm going to be joined tonight by a top expert on this which is writer and podcaster Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who knows more about this than anybody else in the world. Ayaan, are you with us down the line tonight?
I'm with you.
Hi, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. If I could ask you just firstly, thank you for joining us. I'm going to be honest with you. It's very peculiar to be in the UK being told by an Arab state that they do not think the UK is taking the threat of Islamist extremism seriously enough and are withdrawing support for their students coming to the UK. This is a truly bizarre situation, I think, for us to be in. What's your assessment of this?
Matt, it's good to see you and Happy New Year. I think it's truly remarkable, yes, for an Arab country. Not so long ago, Tony Blair, President George Bush were saying to the very same countries, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and other Arab countries, that they had to do something about the Muslim Brotherhood and Islamic extremism. And now here we have the roles reversed. Those countries have done what they understood to be the right thing, which was to take away from them the institutions that form the identity and shape the hearts and minds of young people. The UAE is a very young country. They're very much invested in their youth. And yes, they do invest a lot of money in sending them abroad to universities like Oxford and Cambridge and many others in the United Kingdom that they thought would develop the skill sets in those students that they need. But now they're finding that they're paying for the radicalization or the risk that their kids will be radicalized. And they've had, I think, all sorts of, behind the scenes conversations with these universities and the British government. And they have concluded, no, in the name of national security and self-preservation, we're not going to send our kids to Britain because Britain is not taking this problem seriously.
That's a truly remarkable statement there. Now, many countries around the world have banned Muslim Brotherhood, including some European ones. Austria, notably, has banned Muslim Brotherhood. So has Russia, of course, alongside many Arab states. Why is it that you think the only political party, frontline political party, mainstream political party that's currently calling in the UK to ban Muslim Brotherhood is Reform? Why do you think that the traditional mainstream parties in the UK have ducked away from this issue? David Cameron looked at it, he conducted a review, but then pulled back. He didn't go as far as a ban. Labour have merely said they're keeping this issue under review. But as the UAE are saying here, our leaders are not really being as tough as they should be.
The arguments that they're giving, the Tory party and Labour and so on, is, well, we have all of these constitutional rights that they enjoy. So that's the argument that's being given, but that doesn't hold water when it comes to, we have a Labour Party in government in the United Kingdom that is censoring people for things they post online, that they've thrown people into jail for comments they've made about Islam. They're about to introduce a great censorship. I don't know if they'll do it or not, but there's this whole discussion about Islamophobia being banned. So that argument doesn't hold water. I think there's just something more nefarious. I think these parties have come to depend on the Muslim vote that is mobilized by the Muslim Brotherhood and Muslim Brotherhood-linked organizations. And that is why they cannot or will not ban the Muslim Brotherhood or proscribe it. And I think it's
Ayaan, if I may, just on that point, there was a report in France last year which warned that the problem with organisations like Muslim Brotherhood is they don't really operate top-down through violence, but bottom-up through state infiltration, through embedding themselves in schools, councils, police authorities, and so on. And while we have you, I do want to ask you, we're going to come to this in a bit more detail later on in the show, but we have had this case recently in the West Midlands in Birmingham of a police force seemingly being lobbied or pressured by local Islamists, which to me is classic behaviour in this genre of bottom-up infiltration. Is this what the UAE are worried about as well? Is this evidence of a Muslim Brotherhood-style infiltration of British society?
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, when I read publications, yes, there's the French report, but the best, most comprehensive reports are actually written by British people and British institutions. So British intelligence understands exactly who the Muslim Brotherhood is, that they are a hydra with many heads, that they operate through front groups. They understand how they use and abuse the system. So it isn't a lack of knowledge. It's really a lack of political will. It is your government making a trade-off and thinking, you know, they do mobilize this large demographic, which they radicalize in mosques, in youth camps, in schools, and yes, in university campuses. We're seeing a lot of the side effects of that radicalization of young people, seeing it take place in our streets. You know what happened after October 7 in the last 2 years, and how they come out shouting and allying with the Marxist communist left. But in any case, we know it, and I think what the UAE is telling us over and over again is, we don't mind you taking that risk for yourselves in your own country. It's self-destructive. They've warned us. They know. They've lived with this. The UAE used to fund the Muslim Brotherhood. They hosted the Muslim Brotherhood. So did Saudi Arabia. And over time, they found out the Muslim Brotherhood is like a cancer, along with these Islamists. They wanted to establish themselves and then overthrow the existing authorities and take power and control. They've told us all of these things. They've collaborated with us. I think the UAE is a remarkable, fantastic country. But then here we are, and I think I don't blame the UAE for looking after their own interests, and especially looking after their youth.
Okay, well, that's author, podcaster, and all-round influencer Ayaan Hirsi Ali there, sharing her thoughts with us on this incredible development coming from the United Arab Emirates. Joining me to share their thoughts too about this is our members of our panel, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. Ellie, if I can come to you, truly remarkable comments coming out of United Arab Emirates saying we are not comfortable sending our young people to the United Kingdom because they might be at risk of radicalisation.
It's hugely embarrassing for the UK on the world stage. And, JD Vance actually came out today on X saying this is absolutely insane that our Muslim allies are worried about Islamic indoctrination in the Western world. And by the way, as Ali was saying, that this has nothing to do with a lack of evidence. That report that you cited from Cameron said that there were individuals closely associated to the Muslim Brotherhood that supported suicide bombers in the UK, Hamas attacks in Israel. And as we look around the world, as Lord Godson said, actually, we are becoming an outlier in not doing similar action in banning this group, and it's weak from the Labour government.
Kai Wilshaw, does Labour's actually going to have to move on this, isn't it? We can't suffer the ongoing embarrassment of, we're not even talking about other Western states. We're talking about predominantly Arab states that have a long history and an understanding of these organisations. They have chased these organisations out of their societies. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates and others now saying, look, you guys in the West, you have got no idea what is happening, the scale of infiltration. Labour's going to have to act on this, isn't it? Shabana Mahmood is going to have to act on this.
I have no doubt that Shabana Mahmood will do something, will show stronger action than they have already. But let's be real here. I think this is a cynical ploy by the UAE to blame this on the fear of radicalisation, when we know that, how many students were reported to prevent out of 3 million for Islamic radicalisation? 70. So is this really about that? Or is this about the UAE trying to meddle in our own academic freedoms, in freedom of speech that we have in the UK? I'm not surprised that they don't really understand that to the degree that we do.
So you're saying
they're an autocratic state that does what it pleases and that asserts its laws in its country. So fine, if they don't want their students to be fully funded to come to UK universities, some of the best in the world, the best in the world, then I'm sort of fine with that. If they're going to make a mountain out of a molehill, what's really happening here is this geopolitical play where they're pulling levers like this to try and force the UK government's hand. When we have the information, we will do with that intelligence as we please at a time of our choosing.
So you don't think there is a very real and pressing threat among young people in Britain of Islamist radicalisation?
I think there is some. But is the answer to prescribe a group that, as you said, as Ian said, is a sprawling entity that doesn't have one head, that isn't easily identifiable, that isn't unitarily organised? Well, what would be the point in that? Because you'll have another nonsense like Palestine Action.
Why not ban it?
Well, then you'll have the same nonsense, just like Palestine Action, where just freedom of association then comes into threat, and people who may have expressed one view many years ago, or that are involved in a charity that Muslim Brotherhood is involved in. What does that mean?
Back to that 2015 report, it did say aspects of the Muslim Brotherhood run counter to British values of democracy and rule of law. So what are we standing up for here?
We're going to hold the debate because we are going to come back partly to this issue, looking a bit in detail at the West Midlands later on in the show. But the debate is going to rage, and of course Vice President JD Vance has now joined this debate online today. Well, coming up after a short break, we've seen Labour's 10th U-turn today. But first, we're going to be debating this question. Should X be banned in the United Kingdom? See you in 1 minute.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
Practice Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
More than 10 people have had to be rescued after a huge sinkhole opened in a canal in Shropshire, leaving several narrowboats stranded.
Yes, 3 boats have been affected by the incident, with at least 2 swallowed by the sinkhole, which is approximately 50 by 50 metres in size.
Extraordinary. Well, joining us with the story is Paul Smith-Story, who's on a canal boat 3 boats away from this sinkhole. Paul, this sort of thing doesn't really happen very often, does it?
It doesn't. There was a huge breach on the Bridgewater Canal last year, but this is the first time we've actually seen boats at the bottom of the breach. It was quite scary to witness, to be honest.
So how close are you? What can you see from where you are?
Yeah, well, we're about 90 metres away from where the sinkhole started. We got woke up at 4:20 this morning. There was crashing on the boat because the boat was listing. We got off, and a friend of ours told us that there was this sinkhole that had appeared and that there was a boat about to drop into it. When we got there, the boat was already in the bottom of this sinkhole. The rush of water was incredible. It just sounded like a huge waterfall. Luckily, those boaters got out, and we actually know the chap whose first boat went in. We're just so thankful that he got out in time with his dog.
Gosh, Paul, just explain what we're seeing on our screens right now. So the narrow boat there has come out of the water that we see on the left, and has it rolled over and down into the sinkhole? What's going on?
That's the actual line where the red clay is the line of the canal. Just where those 3 trees are to the left is a field that's flooded, and I think that's where the water's escaped from the canal, and it's just flooded the field to the left of that image. It was really scary.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin. Now, Britain could be about to ban Elon Musk's X platform after it emerged that the platform's AI chatbot Grok, has been undressing women and children in photographs. So Keir Starmer has branded the creation of deepfakes disgusting, adding that he had asked the media regulator Ofcom for, and I quote, all options to be on the table to prevent further images from being generated. Now, X has since made changes to the service, by limiting image editing to paid subscribers, meaning their name and payment information must be on file, according to a message displayed by the chatbot, which Downing Street has described as insulting. The so-called deep fakes have included images of the Princess of Wales, cabinet ministers, members of parliament and celebrities. Well, joining me to discuss this evening is senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. We are hoping to be joined by Lord Young shortly. Ellie Wheatley, what's your read on this? Because it seems to me the instinctive reaction of this Labour government at every opportunity is if something gets difficult, ban it, shut it down.
Totally. I mean, first of all, this is not a new problem. It's just a new tool. We don't ban people for using Photoshop that you can also generate these sort of images from. But it would just be, I think it would be over for Starmer if he banned X, because it's such a draconian move and just would prove all of his critics on Labour and free speech issues completely correct. I just think that the Labour MPs, I don't know if you saw the WhatsApp leaked messages saying that we should ban X because Elon Musk is fascist, just proves it's not about safeguarding, is it? Yeah. It's about shutting down speech and your the political debate, I think.
Well, just before I bring in Lord Young from the Free Speech Union, Kai, what's your top-line read on this? Should it be banned?
Look, it's interesting because this is part of a tug of war, isn't it, between the UK and the US state as well. The US state has become much more militant in its approach to saying European countries have restrictions on free speech and so on. So this would be a massive deal if they banned X. It's not going to happen because it's an opening salvo. They're trying to negotiate with a tyrant, Elon Musk. He doesn't care. Right?
Tyrant. Well,
really
hold that thought, because I'm just going to bring in founder of the Free Speech Union, Lord Toby Young. Lord Young, what's your read on this? Is this likely to happen? Of course, if it does, what are the implications? But actually, underneath all of this, what's this telling us about this Labour government?
Well, on the likely to happen question, I think what's likely to happen, Matt, is that Keir Starmer's going to announce he's going to do it, he's going to start to do it, and then he's going to do a U-turn, because that's the way he rolls. But I think that it's hard to take seriously Keir Starmer's furrowed-browed condemnation of X in the name of protecting children, because Grok has been making these sexualized images. I mean, every AI can do that. Every AI can put a woman in a bikini. Grok's not unique in that respect. X has taken steps to modify Grok to make sure it doesn't create sexualized images of children or of women without their consent. So it seems like a completely over-the-top, disproportionate reaction. What's prompting it? Well, what's prompting it is that X is seen as a platform for the enemies of this government, because it's a free speech platform. Elon Musk is a convenient bogeyman that Labour ministers, not just in the Commons, but in the Lords, I see it all the time, like to point their finger at and know that they're going to get a cheer from their own benches. One reason not to do this, Matt, is that the reason, the $56 billion tech trade deal between Britain and the US, which was announced with great fanfare during Trump's state visit and trumpeted by Starmer as an example of what he could achieve for Britain. And I think the government is pinning quite a few of their hopes for this year for the economy to grow on this particular deal. That deal's been put on hold precisely because Ofcom has been saber-rattling towards American tech companies, particularly over the issue of AI. Ofcom seems to think that US-based AI should have to comply with the entire panoply of Britain's censorship laws. And I don't think that's likely to happen. And the more Starmer insists that Ofcom pursue that, the less likely that trade deal is to get done. And I don't think this government, quite frankly, can afford to kiss off a $56 billion trade deal.
Yeah. But it wasn't that long ago, was it, that we had people very close to Keir Starmer from a research centre on so-called disinformation going over to the United States of America, calling to, and I quote directly, kill Elon Musk's Twitter platform. Labour have really had this in their sights for a long period of time. I'm referring to the Centre for Countering Disinformation, the sort of a unit that was involved with Keir Starmer's now Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney. And since then, obviously, we've seen the United States essentially prohibit people linked to that centre from entering the United States. So it does seem to be an escalation in the battle between these two camps over free speech, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yes. And I'm surprised Keir Starmer has decided to pick a fight over this. Perhaps he thinks it's a good issue. It's going to play well with his base. But it was odd after his very muted reaction to the US extradition of the president of Caracas and his wife, of Venezuela and his wife. If he wanted to condemn Trump, if he wanted to pick a fight with the Trump administration, you'd think that would be a better issue than picking a fight with, the administration by proxy, by picking a fight with X. Britain is currently, rather miraculously, number 3 in the world when it comes to the development of AI. But if we're going to have Ofcom regulate AI as vigorously as it regulates social media companies in this country, it won't be long before we fall way below third in the global league table. I mean, I think we have to allow these US tech companies, we have to allow AI companies a bit more latitude and not insist that they conform with every jot and tittle of the Online Safety Act. That way, we're going to regulate ourselves out of this sector.
OK, well, thank you, Lord Toby Young from the Free Speech Union for joining us. I just want to get some thoughts from our panel tonight. Senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. Kai, do you think X should be banned? I mean, it seems to be a classic authoritarian manoeuvre by what is quickly becoming one of the most authoritarian governments this country has seen in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think it should be banned at all. But the point I was making earlier about Elon Musk being a tyrant, it's relevant here because you see Sarah Rogers, the Secretary of State for Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy, saying there needs to be a better way of regulating against deep fakes because they are a very serious issue. And these kid sex images have been found on the dark web now, based on Grok work, right? But the problem is that her words mean nothing when Elon Musk actually doesn't care for that, and only earlier this week asked his AI team to loosen regulations around Grok, which led to 2 of their safety team leaving. So that's why I say it's like negotiating with a tyrant, because he only understands strength. And so to signal that they might ban it is maybe the right thing, but to ban it, of course not.
Ellie Wheatley, what are the politics behind this? The US, UK falling out, Elon going to war with Labour?
A US Congresswoman has said that if Starmer were to ban X, they would put sanctions on the UK. And let's not forget, by the way, the X is #1 UK news app, right? It has so many other benefits rather than just, I mean, it's not just trolls. And what I think will probably happen is Starmer will get Ofcom to do his dirty work for him, and there'll be fines. And we saw the tensions between the US and the UK over the Online Safety Act. Ofcom has fined 4chan, which is a US-based tech firm. There's now legal action going on with that. So it's going to be very difficult.
Well, indeed. Well, coming up shortly, we're going to be looking at West Midlands Police, because up there, the chief is under pressure. And we're going to be looking at that in detail with a top expert. But first, let's get your news with Sophia Wensler.
Matt, thank you. Your headlines at 8:28. President Donald Trump has been meeting with oil company executives in the White House to discuss Venezuela's oil sector. The US president has said oil companies will deal with the US and not Venezuela. Mr. Trump says 30 million barrels of oil from Venezuela worth $4 billion are on their way to the US. And we can take you live now to Washington, where the meeting is ongoing. The Prime Minister has condemned the killing of protesters in Iran and urged Tehran to exercise restraint in a joint statement with the leaders of France and Germany. It comes after the country's supreme leaders accuse the crowds of trying to please Donald Trump. The US president says he'll hit Iran very hard if they start killing protesters. At least 48 people have been killed since the demonstrations began. according to local media reports. Internet and phone lines have been shut off and flights have been cancelled. Now, tens of thousands of people remain without power after Storm Goretti brought heavy snow, ice, rain and strong winds to Britain, with warnings of more severe weather to come. New snow and ice warnings are issued ahead of the weekend, covering most of Scotland, Northern Ireland and parts of England. Yellow weather warnings for snow and ice have been extended into Saturday for large parts of Scotland, England and Northern Ireland. UK Defence Secretary John Healey has held meetings with Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine today after Russia fired hypersonic missiles at targets in Ukraine near the EU and NATO border. Zelensky thanked the UK for its readiness to help. Speaking after the meeting, Mr Healey said it's now down to US President Donald Trump to stop the Russian attacks. And Nigel Farage has criticised the threat to block the UK's access to Elon Musk's social media site X over concerns about Grok's deepfakes. It came after Downing Street called changes to chatbot Grok insulting to victims of misogyny and sexual violence. The social media site faced backlash after reports that users of its AI chatbot had prompted it to create sexualised images of people, including children. Tech Secretary Liz Kendall said she would be backing Ofcom to effectively block X if it fails to comply with UK law. But the Reform UK leader has said it's appalling.
The thought of banning X from a government that's been attacking free speech and creating a two-tier society in our country, frankly, is appalling. Look, this feature clearly is horrible in every way, distasteful, sick. I get all of that. I know that X today have made some changes to say only paying subscribers can use the service. X will need to go further, but the thought of banning platforms, I mean, what is happening in 21st century Britain?
And as promised, we now can go live to the White House where Trump is speaking.
I hope you're going to do all brand new stuff, rip out the old crap that's been there for so many years and do it the right way. You're going to be there a long time if we make a deal. If we make a deal, you're going to be there a long time. If we don't make a deal, you won't be there at all. It's, you know, sort of interesting. But again, China and Russia would have been there if we didn't do this. And the other thing people ask about the second wave, I don't think it's going to be necessary. We have an armada, a giant armada like nobody's ever seen in that part of the world. And it's stationed off the coast. And we are getting along so well with the people that are involved and representing Venezuela that I don't think we're going to have any, I don't think it's going to be necessary to do the second wave. We were planning on a second wave, but the first wave was so powerful and so good and so strong. And frankly, the people in the country, they did the right thing. They were smart. They did the right thing. They didn't want to go through a second wave, but we've got a tremendous number of the most powerful ships in the world right there. I don't think we're going to have to use that. I'm happy to say that. I don't think we're going to have to use that at all. If I could ask Chevron, you did a great job. I want to thank you. And ExxonMobil, if you would say a few words, and then followed by Conoco, great companies, massive companies, great companies. Exxon, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity, frankly, for the entire industry to...
That's President Donald Trump speaking there. Now, those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Matt.
Welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin. Now, we're about to see the 10th U-turn from this Labour government. This time, it's over tax hikes on the Great British Pub. But first, we are going to be looking in detail at this remarkable policy U-turn once again. We're going to see you in 1 minute to dissect it, discuss it, debate it. I'll see you shortly.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A drier day to come on Saturday, but further snow and heavy rain is on the way for Sunday. Before then, though, a risk of icy stretches overnight tonight. Storm Goretti's now moving into parts of Europe, and behind that we've got cold Arctic air still in situ, and where we've seen any fallen snow, there's a risk of icy stretches as that starts to melt and then refreeze overnight across parts of Wales and the Midlands. Also further snow showers showers will affect parts of Scotland. There's a risk of freezing fog overnight as well. So widely a very cold night, another cold one. Could be down into minus double digits in the coldest spots to start Saturday. So a chilly start, but I did say it was going to be drier, and there will be more in the way of dry weather on Saturday, at least compared to Sunday. Still a few showers though moving into the west of Scotland. Some freezing fog patches could be quite stubborn to clear through the day as well across many central areas of Scotland. Clear skies though already starting to develop across the central swathe of the UK, bringing some sunshine to start the weekend. But notice those blue colours indicating where there's going to be a harsh frost to start the day. So certainly a chilly start, but some good weather to be getting out and about in. Some sunshine developing through the day quite widely. It's cloudier skies across eastern areas of England all the while, where we do have a risk of showers. Some of these sleety across more coastal areas, but for most of us we should stay dry. It's going to be another chilly day though, temperatures quite widely just 2 or 3 degrees. Now as the next batch of rain bumps into that cold air, there's a risk of some quite widespread snow for a time on Saturday night, but that will quite quickly turn to rain through the course of Sunday morning. So we could see around 10 centimetres across many northern areas, but then a risk of flooding as we head into the latter part of Sunday and into next week. It remains windy.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, on GB News. Now, another Labour U-turn, but are you surprised? Chancellor Rachel Reeves is reportedly finalising plans to reverse her decision to enforce higher business rates on the Great British Pub after it has been revealed that on average one pub is closing every day and has been closing every day for the last year. Meanwhile, Kemi Badenoch has accused Labour MPs of scrambling to get themselves unbanned from their local pubs after the Christmas period. How can anybody trust this Labour government after their run of backtracks and U-turns? Don't forget, the farmers' inheritance tax changes. Remember that U-turn? The income tax hike reversal? What about that one? The benefit cuts abandonment? The winter fuel payments? The grooming gangs inquiry? The waspy women compensation? The national insurance tax pledge? U-turn after U-turn after U-turn from a government that is now on an approval rate of just 11% in the country. Well, to discuss all of this with me tonight is senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. Kai, if I can start with you. 10 U-turns, another one today, 11% in the approval ratings. The Labour government is falling apart day by day. Why can't they just get a bit of consistency? That's the thing that I struggle with. Where's the consistency in all of this?
I think the reason you're not seeing the consistency is that the tone is really set by the top. And what's become clear to many in Labour circles even is that there needs to be an overarching vision for what this government wants to achieve. And then everything else is downstream of that, right? So we can agree, we can disagree about policy decisions that have been taken or untaken, right? And actually, personally, I think that given where we are, if they're making adjustments post-fact to improve people's lives with the right intentions to begin with, that's better than just sticking with the policy.
And there's 10
with the policy
major U-turns and introducing policies that weren't in the Labour manifesto to begin with.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. It looks complete nonsense. And it is a bit of a nonsense. But honestly, I think what they're finding is very difficult to retrofit a vision when you're in government. Richard Tice has said so much. He said in a Bloomberg speech back in November, we're lucky we have 3 years. We think we're going to be in government, and so we can think the big things, about the Bank of England and about regulation, over-regulation, and so on. The government didn't have that, but now what it's trying to do, what I hope it is doing now, is to try and really focus on how can we gather all of this into a coherent message and they will start to make all these make sense. Try to do the right thing.
So Labour didn't know they were coming into power. Now, from my memory, they had a good 3 years knowing they were coming into power. Ellie, what explains the U-turns? Because it's one after another, and these aren't small policy changes. These are big seismic shifts, and I'm not even going to get into digital ID and all the stuff that wasn't in the Labour manifesto. But these U-turns, it's one backtrack after another.
Yeah, I mean, it's weak leadership from Starmer and his top team, and they are basically a reactive government rather than a proactive one. And they see all this backlash, and they haven't thought through these policies before they put them in, like the family farm tax. How many farmers had to commit suicide before they eventually U-turned on that? With this, with the pubs, yes, well, that then, of course, begs the question, what about restaurants? What about hotels? What about cafes?
Also, just put yourself in the shoes of Keir Starmer. You're taking on Nigel Farage at the next general election. And, I'm always told that he's surrounded by whiz kids in number 10 Downing Street, these wonderful political operators. If you were going up against Nigel Farage at the next general election, surely the last institution you want to declare war on is the British pub.
Well, exactly, which is why I say I don't think they thought these policies through. And then, of course, they see the backlash, and British pubs is a very important part of British life. And so this thing is, it's just weak government.
Can I ask, where is the civil service in all of this, right? Because to my mind, I agree with you. What this thinks of is rushing out a policy, because we had this smorgasbord approach at the last budget where they were trying to make small adjustments here and there. Why was the work not done so that we get now a Chancellor who, by the reporting that was that we saw this week, was blindsided by the real impact of rates changes, given that there's been a tapering off of COVID support and so on?
So I actually had this debate a couple of days ago at the Michelle Dewberry show. I was talking to one of Starmer's advisors who was saying that one of the problems from their perspective is that the people who came in early on to lead the Labour government essentially didn't do enough of the preparation. So the work wasn't, they're blaming one another. Sue Gray. Blaming Sue Gray, blaming one another. But it is striking at just how chaotic this government has been, given all, as well, the talk from their allies in the media, the mainstream legacy media, right, that, the adults were back in the room, responsibility was here, everything was going to be smooth sailing. Actually, I cannot remember a government that has overseen this many U-turns. It's quite a thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And we do have a right of reply, I should add, from the House of Commons leader, Sir Alan Campbell, who's addressed some of these concerns and says this: the Prime Minister has been listening and he's actively looking at further measures to help pubs and the hospitality industry, whether these are in rural areas or in urban areas. Well, there you go. We're going to be going to break. After the break, we're going to be looking at that shocking development in the West Midlands. And I will see you in 1 minute. We've got a top expert to look at what on earth is happening in our second city. See you shortly.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's not much warmer across the Mediterranean compared to the UK at the moment, thanks to a brisk wind, which is bringing plenty of showers to Greece and Croatia during Saturday. Certainly some snow over the mountains across the southeastern corner of Europe. Some snow over the mountains of Italy as well. Further north across Italy, some sunshine, largely fine conditions for Spain and Portugal. Snow over the Pyrenees and generally sunny spells in the Canaries. That'll continue into Sunday and Monday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, on GB News, the People's Channel. Now, West Midlands Police are under mounting pressure after Chief Constable Craig Guilford was hauled before MPs earlier this week over claims that his police force falsified evidence to justify a football match ban against Israeli football fans at an Aston Villa match last year. Now, the Home Secretary, who intervened in late November, ordered inspectors to fast-track scrutiny of the intelligence that had been used ahead of the fixture in the match assessment produced by West Midlands Police. A written update is now expected from the Chief Inspector next week. Well, this is a story that I've been particularly interested in. I think it tells us a lot about what's going on in modern Britain. And joining me to discuss it is counter-extremism researcher Emma Schubart. Emma, what is it that strikes you as being most significant about this story? Because today we learn that actually there were relationships or links between the police and local preachers who have made some pretty unsavoury remarks regarding the rights of women. We can clearly now see the original intelligence was not accurate. We can see that the police have been influenced by local Islamist thugs. What is it about this case that is so important, do you think?
I think the first thing is the initial incorrect intelligence that you're talking about. They basically claimed, West Midlands Police claimed that the previous game that happened a year prior in Amsterdam was evidence of somehow violent behavior committed by Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. We now know, of course, that they completely inverted the perpetrators and victims of that Amsterdam incident. That incident can only really be described as a pogrom now. We know that local, predominantly Muslim individuals tracked down Maccabi Tel Aviv fans.
Hang on one second, because we have got an issue with your mic, which we're fixing. Just while we do that, let me just bring in the panel, Ellie Wheatley and Kai Wilshaw. I've got a question, Kai. Why is the Chief Constable at West Midlands Police not being sacked, or why is he not resigned yet, given the things that we've seen in the last few days?
Well, I don't think we need to see an overreaction, especially when you have the most senior leader trying to, I'd imagine, urgently find out exactly what happened. Now, of course, the buck does have to stop with him, but while they're still investigating, while all this is still going on, I think a rush to judgment would be, well, would actually harm probably us finding out what exactly happened.
Well, the performance in the committee.
I have to say, I think he absolutely has to go. I'm surprised, as you said earlier, that he hasn't resigned from originally saying that they made a decision before they actually even had the evidence, and then the evidence was actually
Okay,
arrested.
well, hold on, Kai. Let's bring Emma back in. I mean, he should go, right? I mean, we've heard as well this whole story about Shabana Mahmood being a tough new Home Secretary who does what needs to get done, but actually she's not that tough.
Right. Well, this is evidence of extreme anti-Semitism at the highest levels of the West Midlands Police, because this classic inversion of events, perpetrator versus victim being switched, is a classic anti-Semitic trope where, whether it's the Holocaust or October 7th or this Amsterdam pogrom, individuals will flip that and say, actually, the Jews did it to someone else. So if Shabana is not going to take that as a proof that the leadership of West Midlands Police needs to go, then it's unclear what exactly she will stand up to.
And we're not just talking about one person who should really resign, or at least have the humility and decency to see what the landscape looks like. We're talking about, from my perspective at least, a police force that looks institutionally suspect. I mean, is it fair to say that actually, you know, let me just say what lots of people out there are thinking. If this is happening in this police force, it could be happening everywhere.
Right, and I think we should use this as an example because West Midlands told us that they conducted extensive consultations with local Muslim groups. About 8, they told us. We know 3 of which have alleged ties to hardcore anti-Semitism and extremist rhetoric. One emerged in the news today as hosting a speaker who was issuing guidance on how to stone a woman to death. And we had another of those 8 organizations hosted a speaker that, right after October 7th, called for killing Jews one by one. So obviously this involves more than just the top guy of West Midlands Police, if they were consulting all of these Muslim organizations. And there's a question now, why on earth were you engaging these organizations, and how many other police forces are doing the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we do want to get that information. We have a statement from the police force, a previous statement, which goes like this. A huge amount of planning went into the operation with the aim of preventing crime and disorder and disruption to the game and keeping everyone safe. The operation achieved its aims of keeping everyone in attendance safe, and this is down to the hard work of all the officers and staff from West Midlands Police and other forces around the country. Well, there you go. It seems to me, at least, that what we've got to do in this country is firstly really interrogate what is going on within these police forces, but also what on earth is going on with these Islamist networks. We need to monitor them, we need to track them, and we need to keep them under surveillance. I want to thank my panel tonight, thank all of my guests. Patrick Christis tonight is coming up after this show. Patrick, what have you got coming up on your show tonight?
Well, thank you, Matt. I'm here with my and they are on fine form tonight, let me tell you. They've braved the weather. They've braved the weather to come here tonight. We love it. It's great. Thank you so much. Right, loads on. Do we think that Keir Starmer's going to ban Axe? Well, he shouldn't be allowed to, should he? Also, the pub U-turn is Labour's 12th U-turn. Hey, all right, it's like Panto already, isn't it? There we go. We are going to be talking about the weather, whether or not it is climate change or actually just winter, because I think it might just be winter. Nigel Farage's policy to only scrap the 2-child benefit cap for British families. Is that good, do you think? Oh, a bit of a mix of good. All right, we'll get into that one. That's good. And believe it or not, Labour are apparently blocking a ban on cousin marriage. Seriously. I think that maybe says more about them than us, doesn't it? But there we go. So we're going to be talking about all that and much more. And, of course, we will have the very latest from Iran. Will tonight be the night that the Ayatollah falls? All that and more.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A drier day to come on Saturday, but further snow and heavy rain is on the way for Sunday. Before then, though, a risk of icy stretches overnight tonight. Storm Goretti's now moving into parts of Europe, and behind that we've got cold Arctic air still in situ, and where we've seen any fallen snow, there's a risk of icy stretches as that starts to melt and then refreeze overnight across parts of Wales and the Midlands. Also, further snow showers will affect parts of Scotland. There's a risk of freezing fog overnight as well. So widely a very cold night. Another cold one. Could be down into minus double digits in the coldest spots to start Saturday. So a chilly start, but I did say it was going to be drier, and there will be more in the way of dry weather on Saturday, at least compared to Sunday. Still a few showers though moving into the west of Scotland. Some freezing fog patches could be quite stubborn to clear through the day as well across many central areas of Scotland. Clear skies though already starting to develop across the central swathe of the UK, bringing some sunshine to start the weekend. But notice those blue colours indicating where there's going to be a harsh frost to start the day. So certainly a chilly start, but some good weather to be getting out and about in. Some sunshine developing through the day quite widely. It's cloudier skies across eastern areas of England all the while, where we do have a risk of showers. Some of these sleety across more coastal areas, but for most of us we should stay dry. It is going to be another chilly day though. Temperatures quite widely just 2 or 3 degrees. Now as the next batch of rain bumps into that cold air, there's a risk of some quite widespread snow for a time on Saturday night, but that will quite quickly turn to rain through the course of Sunday morning. So we could see around 10 centimetres across many northern areas, but then a risk of flooding as we head into the latter part of Sunday and into next week. It remains windy.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's a brand new year and we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date.
£85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
And we've come to the Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate.
An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1